Welcome to the next curve. What is the next curve? Well, the next curve is the journey to getting squared up. And we're so happy that you're here today so we can be able to explain the exciting news and to help you make the conversion, or other words, make the curve. Get yourself squared up today. Now, it's the SquareMileWay that's presenting this entire presentation. And the owners of SquareMileWay want to thank you for taking the time to understand what it's going to be like to make the curve. You know, business 101 meant making money. They used to have this adage they used to say a long time ago, and even today, what are businesses in business for? And the answer was always to make money. Now, business 2.0 is to make meaning. You see, when you're just in business to make money, what happens is it becomes a race to the bottom. It means if you're just in business to make money, the quickest way to do that is to make your product for cheaper than everybody else can make it. That means you're cheaper only until another company discounts theirs 10% or 2% below yours. But if you're in a race for the cheapest, I call that a race to the bottom. And you don't want to win that race. Instead, we want you to become squared up. And squared up means, in the square mile system, is making meaning. When you become a meaningful part in your community and a meaningful part in the client or customer arena, then that means they will support you and you will make plenty of money. In the old system 1.0, making money was the name of the game. Now your company has to make meaning to continue to make money. Failure to jump this curve almost certainly leaves an opening to your competition. The case in point, look at VCR companies. Look at blockbusters. VCR companies was 1.0 in the in-home movie arena. Blockbusters I would call 2.0. VCR companies made machines, and I don't know anybody that was able to program them, but they made machines. When you saw something on TV or you saw a movie, you can hit record and you can record that on a VHS tape and then play it back later on. Then 2.0 Blockbuster came around, Home Movies 2.0, and they just said instead of you recording it yourself, you can just come into our store and pick up a movie off the shelf and take it home to put it in that VCR. Now VCRs all over the country very rarely use the record mode because people are just walking into the 2.0 version of home movies and just picking up a movie off the Blockbuster shelf. And then lo and behold, Home Movies 3.0 is here, alive, and well. That's Netflix. Netflix is doing their thing. Now, when we talk about jumping the curve, VCR companies 1.0, Blockbuster 2.0, Netflix 3.0. And in every case in the tech side, when you see 2.0, it replaces 1.0. When you see 3.0, it replaces 2.0. And the sad thing about this is 1.0 never seen 2.0 coming. No VCR companies became blockbusters. Where are VCR companies now? No VCR company became blockbusters. And what's sad about that, when Blockbuster came and took over that business, they didn't have their eyes open for 3.0. No blockbusters became Netflix. When the last time you've been into a Blockbuster? Matter of fact, where can you find one today? 2.0 is gone. Netflix 3.0 is here until the 4.0 rises out the shadows somewhere. And when it rises, Netflix needs to be ready to make that curve. Now, having said that, most companies define their businesses by what they do and not what they provide. And that's bad. That's why it's hard for them to jump curves and make meaning. Because all they care about is, this is what we do, this is what we do, this is what we do to make this money. When they should be saying, what do we provide that can make meaning in people's lives? So let's look at the curve view for a second. Let's look at the curve view. Right here, you see the logo design for SquareMileWay. SquareMileWay has 4 cornerstones. The top left of this logo, the secret's in the logo. The top left of this logo, you see Smile, or the SquareMileWay. That's the corporation. What the corporation does is we provide training, support, infrastructure, and everything necessary to support the national program, the National Squared Up program. Now, when you see that arrow going over to churches, that means we provide all of our services for the faith-based organizations so they can work the second corner of our 4 cornerstone unique structure. Now, the churches, when we approach a faith-based organization, a faith-based organization or a church, when we approach a church, we ask them to oversee a specific area of the community. We know that they do a great job inside of their churches for their members. We do not mess with any theology, any denomination. We don't go inside the church to do anything. When we approach a church, we ask the pastor or the minister or the faith-based leader, we ask them to oversee an area, a specific area. That specific area is 5 blocks to the north, south, east, and west of their front doors, making the church the center of a geographic square mile. And we ask them to knock on every door in a 24-month period and then service the needs that they find. Now, anyone living 6 blocks away from the church, well, that's the next church's territory. We just simply would like for a faith-based leader to oversee an area 5 blocks in every direction, 1 square mile, instead of just overseeing the 4 walls of his building. Now, that works for us, and that's the central nucleus of a square mile program. Now, for the neighborhoods, we just ask the neighbors to take part in improving their communities. They're going to see a whole bunch coming in. Trash being picked up, graffiti being removed, overgrown lots being mowed down, vacant homes being boarded up, minor repair, just a whole lot of things that they're going to see, and they're asked to take part as they see through the church's leadership in the community that community things are being done. Now, you see an arrow going down from churches to the neighborhood, and you see an arrow going over to businesses from there. Now, for business owners, the good news in becoming squared up is that once a business becomes squared up, a portion of your membership fees goes up. That arrow going up goes up towards supporting the local community, which means that arrow means you pay a monthly membership fee to come up to Square Mile. Square Mile takes that membership fee and that arrow going over, and they help the churches. Churches take that support and they help the neighborhoods, and neighborhoods support businesses. So this unique system is a one-of-a-kind squared up way, because there is a squared up difference. What is the squared up difference? Well, basically a squared up difference sets your business apart. And how does it do that? Well, for instance, let's look at the faith-based organizations first. When we ask them to take on a square mile community, once they say yes, we put a sign in their yard. It's about the size of a real estate sign. So all of our network faith-based organization churches, they're marked with this sign in their yard. Why are they marked with this sign? They're marked with the sign because our advertising, our marketing, we're branding this sign. We're telling the nation that if you live within 5 blocks, remember they have an area 5 blocks to each side of them. If you live within 5 blocks from one of these organizations with a sign, you can and may receive assistance. And that's important to the community, to have a social service or a help that's within arm's reach. We receive no government funding. We're going to do the whole thing through support of the businesses and through the working of the church within the community. This also connects churches nationwide beyond denominational lines, which means we're going to have every faith, Muslim, Catholic, Baptist, Presbyterian, Methodist, all of them working together through working on their own. All of them working together shoulder to shoulder, but they're all working on their own inside of their square mile. So we're not mixing the denominations. We're just having each one take a square, and we'll bump these squares nationwide, and handle these issues 1 square mile at a time. On the flip side of that, for our squared up business owners, our network businesses are giving a door or window decal. If you look, it looks exactly like the sign that's in the church, except it's not the size of a real estate sign. It's only 4 by 4 inches with an adhesive front. We'll give each business 2 of these, and we want you to place it in a visible area from the street. Place it on a window or a door, somewhere where people can see it as they walk or drive by. The reason why we want to do that is because while we're busy telling the world that if you live within 5 blocks of one of these real estate signs or a church sign, you can and will receive help, we're also telling the world that, listen, the only way this program is being worked, and the only way it's being successful is that local business owners all across the country have decided to start supporting the communities in a more organized method. That means they're giving membership fees, and these membership fees are used to help you in the communities. So we just came through Occupy Wall Street. We just came through 1 versus 99%. So what we're saying is that people are going to start responding to people who are helping them. This allows the local community to see that your business is socially connected. So let's rise up above this curve for a second and look at it. First of all, this logo, the 4 cornerstones of our logo, smile, churches, neighborhoods, and businesses. This is important. This logo makes up the significance and the unique method really to how the squared up system works, because that logo is a square, so you see how it works. But for a minute, let's start defining the small business support system. Let's define that. How does this work? Well, if this is to work properly, then first let's remove the arrows to the logo itself. Let's resection the arrows to show you how that business will support you. With the arrows on there, it shows how all of us are connected, each corner helping the next. But for a business owner, you need something different. So here's what happens. Now, before we get to that, I wanted to explain to you what we've done. Okay, now, I'll explain that in a minute. But listen, when we remove these arrows, let's explain how this whole system will support your business. First, let's look at SMILE, or the SquareMileWay. There are going to be 287 local offices across the United States. 5 in 43 different states, there'll be 5 offices. And then in 7 states, there'll be 10. And then DC, the capital, the nation's capital, will have 2. 287 local offices. When a business enters the Square Mile program, once you become squared up as a business owner, what happens is you will be entered into an exclusive Square Mile directory. That directory is important. It's like a yellow pages, but the only businesses who are in that directory are our squared up businesses. It's an exclusive directory for only squared up businesses. And we have 287 offices. Once we open those offices, everything they need, from a paper clip to a very expensive 3D printer or a commercial size printer, huge printer, everything we purchase will come from businesses who are inside that directory. That's 287 local offices all across the country, only shopping from our directory. So that's important. We support the businesses who are supporting us. Then churches. Each local office can maintain up to 400 square mile churches. That's 114,800 churches across the nation. All of them have agreed to shop from the local directories. Every one of them have agreed. In order for a faith-based organization to participate, they must spend $150 per month in that directory each month in order to stay in the program. That's a lot of money being spent in that directory. We'll cover that in the next slide. The neighborhoods, they're told, listen, because you're being supported and you see a change in your neighborhood by faith-based organizations increasing their presence, increasing their servitude, increasing the love they're showing out, This is happening because businesses are supporting a national program, and the neighborhood is told, and it averages 1,600 homes in each neighborhood. Neighborhoods are told that businesses are supporting this program, and they are the same businesses who have a decal on their window that matches the church sign. We think this is pretty unique. Becoming Squared Up will save many businesses in the upcoming future, and we're looking forward to that. Now, how do we save businesses? Well, it goes back to making money versus making meaning. To save businesses, that means we help businesses to make that curve, make that jump, make that curve, go around the curve and still be on four wheels and still be operational. How? That's because we want you to become indispensable. We want you to become indispensable. That's important. As a business, you have to become indispensable in your community or get ready to vacate the building for the next business. Why do we say that boldly? If you don't believe that, go ask any neighbor in the community that's been there for a while and ask them which business occupied your building before you got there. And they'll be able to tell you the history of who's been on that corner, or who's been in that house, or who's been down the street. They're able to tell you the history of that location. Businesses come, and if they're not supported, they leave. You have to become indispensable. We ask businesses, well, we did a survey and asked businesses, I'll tell you about that in a minute. We asked them, listen, if you went out of business, who would miss you? And the overwhelming answer was, I don't know. Well, we can't let that happen to our Squared Up businesses. And the proof comes from those who did not see the curves. When we're talking about making the next curve, that means making the 1.0 to 2.0. Don't let a 2.0 business come and you didn't see it and then 1.0 goes out of business. We want you to make the transition around the curve and bump up and do the next great thing. The next great thing is becoming Squared Up. If you don't believe me, let's see who didn't see the previous curves coming in history. Look at Sears, JCPenney's, and Kmart. They didn't see, that's 1.0, retail stores, big boxes. Remember that? The JCPenney catalog, the Sears sale, the Walmart discounts. Remember all that? They didn't see the next curve coming, and now they're closing down everywhere. What was the next curve? Walmart. We all know it, Walmart. Many small business owners are feeling that Walmart crunch as well in many of these communities. Well, Walmart came up with a 2.0 model. They said they're going to open up a big box store. They said they were going to carry everything. Electronics, clothes, food, everything. And so companies that did that couldn't compete because Walmart was buying stuff at bulk. Lots more bulk. I know JCPenney's and Sears and Kmart were national companies, but Walmart made the next curve 2.0, the model they had. Now, the economy is getting better. However, when Walmart came, it wasn't, and then people were going there because it was cheaper. Now the economy is getting better, but now Walmart created a loyalty and shut Sears and JCPenney's and Kmart out just in case they decide to try to lower prices. Walmart said, listen, keep coming to what you used to, and we'll just match their prices. Bring in their prices, and if ours is higher, we'll match it. It's very hard for Sears, JCPenney's, and Kmart. They didn't make that curve, so look what's happening to them. Network TV. They were moving right along. What do we have? 4 or 6 channels earlier? Network TV did not make the next curve. They had the money, they had the know-how, but the next curve came and they didn't make the curve. The next curve was cable TV. Network TV, when they saw cable, they decided in their heart, we don't have to make that change. We don't have to do that. Why? Because network TV is free. Nobody's going to pay for TV. Well, look what happened in the next curve. Cable TV is making it, and now the antennas are gone. They're gone. The government gave a certain amount of time for your antennas to be gone, and now cables are punishing network TV, making them pay big dollars to be on the cable channels. And network TV is taking them to court because cable companies been suing to not carry the local networks anymore. And now network TV has to stay in court to fight for that one channel on the cable. They did not make the curve. Cable TV was 2.0. Landline phones. Look at that. The old days, not only did you have a landline phone, it was attached to the wall. Now, how many people do you know besides Grandma or Mama or Medea? How many people you know that has landline phones? Unless you moved in a place that had it, nobody's getting landline phones no more unless you had a home business and you wanted a fax machine or something. Nobody really has landline phones. What was the next curve? Mobile phones. The Bells, Ma Bell, they had the money, they had the know-how. They could have went that route, but they stayed with the wires. They said, we own all the wires, so nobody's going to come in and take our business. We own all the telephone wires. Guess what? Mobile companies didn't care. They said, we don't need your wires. We're going wireless. Landline phones, look at them. Try to buy a landline phone now. You can't. They didn't make the next curve. Now mobile phones are killing them. Mobile phones are killing them. MySpace have been out there. When the last time somebody asked you for your MySpace page name? I haven't been asked. When the last time they asked you? Why? Because they missed the curve. They were here long before Facebook. Facebook simply ran over them. Now everybody's saying, what's your Facebook name? Like me on Facebook. Nobody is saying like me on MySpace. Are they still around? Who knows? Why? Who cares? Because they're 1.0. Facebook is 2.0 in social networks. This is important. Now 1.0, making money. Small businesses competing against large businesses. That's the 1.0 model. If that's what you're doing, you cannot make it because 2.0 is here. Squared up. 2.0 is here. Indispensable small businesses. You have to become a needed part in the community in order to survive. The SquareMileWay is the next generation system. You need to become squared up today. Now, there are two viewpoints that we've developed, and I wanted to talk about them. The community church's viewpoint and the business viewpoint. Because when it comes to helping neighborhoods, we know that community and churches are about helping and serving people. But businesses really aren't into how many people you fed and how many coats you gave away. Businesses are into making money. So we wanted to find out the business viewpoint, the church viewpoint, and the community viewpoint. And communities and churches seem to merge their viewpoint together, but businesses stood firm. So how do we know this? Well, let me take a minute to tell you how we know this. Well, a few years ago, about 4 years ago, we did a feasibility study. We decided to travel the country and find out firsthand how we would to get information about how we could better set up this vision or this business idea. Well, we visited 10 cities. Fort Wayne, Indiana, because it's the city of churches, they called it. Indianapolis, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky, Birmingham, Alabama, Nashville, and Memphis, Tennessee. Then we visited Houston, Texas, and Dallas, Texas. And then we went over to the West Coast and spent a few months in San Jose and a few months in Fremont, California. During this 10 cities, we took plenty of notes. We had a team. We stayed at least 3 months in each. We spent at least 3 months in each city. During these travels, we took many notes. We interviewed over 500 pastors and over 300 business owners. Well, we asked the pastors how they felt about outreach, what was working in the community, what do they wish they could do in the community, what did they try that didn't work, what are they doing successful. We asked them everything outreach we asked from the church perspective or from the pastor or the minister that was leading that organization. We also asked permission from these faith-based organizations. Could we go out into the neighborhood and sort of like evangelize or talk to the community? We wanted to know the community's opinion about what the church's role was in that community and have they benefited or suffered from the church's participation or non-participation. Well, the community had a lot of interesting answers. A lot of them. Some was angry. Some of them understood. They knew the lack of finances and all that was kind of hampering the church's desire to be more present in the community. But we asked them everything. So coming from that, we were able to determine exactly how to set the program up for a faith-based organization and exactly how to set it up for a neighborhood or a community. During the process of these visits, we also interviewed all these business owners in the local areas of these churches, a lot of them. And we wanted to, we explained about the squared up system that was coming to town eventually. We were putting it on the drawing board. We was working out the kinks. We were doing pilot programs. We were trying to fix it. And we wanted to know their input. What are their price points? We told them what the program was and asked them how much were they willing to pay per month or upfront for a program like this. What do they need in return to participate in a program like this? And how could a program like this benefit them? And how do they think they can benefit a program like this? From looking at all of that information, we came back and took about a year to put all of this research together from this feasibility study. We had the business viewpoint and we had the church or community viewpoint, which those two viewpoints seem to merge together. Now, if you put the churches and community viewpoint together, basically it was, if this program comes to be, we are kind of obligated to support the local squared up businesses. And that is true. And the business viewpoint would be, hey, if they support us, we're going to experience increased traffic. That's what it was about for each side. If the businesses become squared up, the community and church will feel obligated to support the squared up businesses in the neighborhood. And the businesses would say that would increase our traffic. The community and church's viewpoint was, we need to support the businesses that belong to our communities. Notice how that changed. They started talking about how a community, if a business would be squared up, they started talking about how a business would belong to them. They started taking ownership. And what is that viewpoint of the business? That means the business owner would feel connected. Once you're connected to the neighborhood, remember we talked about becoming indispensable. Many businesses have came and gone because they wasn't connected. When we talk about being connected, that means when they start walking into your business because it has that sticker, you're connected. Not only connected like that, the same sign that's in the churchyard matches the sticker that's in your window or on your door. That makes you connected to a process of something great happening all over the country. Again, the churches and community viewpoint was, they'll miss your business if you leave. If they can get businesses to do this, we have to keep businesses in business because we'll miss them if they leave. We'll miss a business if they leave because these businesses, these local businesses are supporting us. And so we need them to stay in business. And for you, that starts making you become indispensable. They will support you and make sure you have adequate support to keep your doors open. That makes you indispensable. Why? Because for this program to work, the church has to have a sign in their yard and the local businesses have to have stickers in the window. That makes you indispensable in the community. The final churches and communities viewpoint that we put together from this research and this feasibility study that we did was the desire, the church and community viewpoint was, they desire to spend their dollars with businesses who give back to the community. Listen, the faith-based community, and I'm sure being an intelligent business owner, you already know that the faith-based community spends $2 trillion a year in the economy, just buying what they need. $2 trillion. Do you know that as a business owner, we're always talking about the percent of the market that we want? What percentage of the market? Do you know if you went out to get 0.00001%, 0.00001% of $2 trillion, that is still $200,000. So I'm not saying we promise what percentage you would get, but the bottom line is they desire to spend that $2 trillion or lots of it or whatever. They desire to spend it in like a rub my back, I rub you. You support us, we support you. So they want to spend dollars with the community businesses who are squared up, who this program is about, them helping the faith-based organization helping the community. In exchange for that, they support you. And if they support you, that means your bottom line. Every business owner is concerned about his bottom line. First of all, paying the bills at the business. And second of all, making a profit where they can do other things, maybe expand or hire somebody else. But let's look at some numbers. The way the company is set up, the way Getting Squared Up works, there are 400 business owners in a local area, or 400 churches in a local area. There's 5 local areas per state. Collectively, since churches are spending $150 a month, collectively across the state, not nation, but just across one state, $300,000 is spent monthly in squared up businesses. That's $3.6 million annually. That's per state. $300,000 being spent monthly in squared up businesses. $3.6 million annually. That's just in the businesses. If you look at what's being spent in the community under this program, $700,000 is spent monthly inside of neighborhoods in the nation or in the state. One state. That's $8.4 million annually. So every year, let's say Tennessee or Alabama or Indiana or Kentucky or Kansas or California. Well, not California. That has double that because they have 10 offices instead of 5. But if you look at 43 different states, $1 million is spent between business owners and neighborhoods. $300,000 to business owners, $700,000 for neighborhoods. Now, let me assure you of something. No governor or mayor is writing those checks. No politicians are writing those checks. SquareMileWay is. We receive no money from politicians or grants or anything like that. The way this program works, that secret sauce, that unique square mile, churches, neighborhoods, businesses. Square mile, churches, neighborhood, businesses. And they all are supportive of each other. Governors aren't writing these checks. States aren't writing these checks. The federal government aren't writing these checks. Square Mile is writing these checks. That's important. Listen, the math works. It just simply works. If the math doesn't work, it doesn't work. But the return on investment dollars, those numbers don't lie. So let's take a look at some of those numbers. For one, each 43 states will have 5 offices. 7 states will have 10 offices. Now, if you look at a state with each office, whether you have 10 offices or 5 offices, each office can handle up to 400 square mile churches. Each local church, if each church spent only $10.50 annually in your store, there's 400 local churches in your area. In each local area, there's 400 local churches. Will be 400 local churches. If each one of those churches walked in and spent $10.50, not daily, not weekly, not monthly, but $10.50 annually. That means each church walking in your store one time a year and spending $10.50, each church in your local area. That would be 100% return on your money for this program. If you look at 4,000 members in a local area, that's 10 members per church. 400 churches, 10 members per church. Now, the last census said churches, the faith-based organizations average 104 or 107 people membership per church. Not sure, 104, 107. Let's call it 105 just to split the difference. If just 10 of those walked in your store, 10 members at a church, they can pick one time a year to walk in your store. During the course of a year, you had 10 members from each church walk in your store. at different times. One can walk in January, one in February, so forth and so on. If each one of those members from these churches spend just $1.05 annually, that in itself would be 100% return on your investment. The numbers don't lie. Numbers do not lie. Now let's look at 1,095 walk-ins per year. And what that means is, because of that decal in your window, if 3 people saw our commercials, looked at our billboards, saw our buses, saw our newspaper or magazine, we're going to brand the heck out of those signs. If just 3 people walk in your door daily in your business because they understand you're trying to support the community, so instead of going to a big box like, well, we won't name any of the big box stores, you know them. Instead of driving by your store and going to one of the big boxes like they always do anyway, they decide to stop at your store to support you. If 3 people per day walked in because of your decal and spent only $3.84, that's 1,095 walk-ins per year. That's 100% return on your investment. 100%. If all 3 of these things happen, that's a 300% return on your investment. If all 3 of these things happen. And this only covers 3 of the 14 benefits that you receive for being a part, and I should say 14 benefits and growing that you will receive if you become squared up. This only covers 3 of the 14 benefits that you will receive. Can you afford to get squared up? Can you afford to do it? We'll show you the price in a minute, but can you afford to do it? Well, it's our belief at Square Mile that actually you can't afford not to. This is how special this program is. You can't. And there's so much more we haven't told you, but let's go over some of the benefits you will receive real quick. I'm going by these real quick. First of all, the exclusive listing in the Square Mile directory, I already told you that, where churches have to spend $150 a month in to stay in the program, and they will do it. Then, if you don't have a website, we will provide a basic multimedia website for you. This is important. Websites are important for businesses. All businesses don't have websites, but you need to have a website to stay in business. Your business is listed on the church sponsor pages. Churches also receive websites, and on their websites they will have a sponsor page with business owners who are supporting the program. We should average about 10 businesses per faith-based organization, so there will never be more than 10 businesses on their sponsor page. You don't have to worry about hundreds of businesses on a church sponsor page. There's never going to be more than 10. Then employment bulletin board. Look at that. Anytime you need to hire somebody, you don't have to put an ad out in the paper. You don't have to get on Craigslist. All you got to do is call the Square Mile office, and instantly we'll fill something out. We'll talk to you. We'll send that to 400 different churches in the local areas. They'll post it on their bulletin boards and say it during the announcements. We have a job opening at such and such, such and such. Please look at the qualifications and call them if you're looking for an employment. This is important. Then, window and door decal. We talked about that. Various tax deductions go without saying. Social QR codes that are changeable. Our QR codes, you've seen them on the side of everything. Those little squares, if you had a smartphone, you can scan it. Our QR codes are changeable. We give you the ability to change it, which means today if somebody scans your QR code in your advertising, it might go to your website. Tomorrow, it might go to the weekly sale. So you can change it where the location, the destination, the digital destination is of a QR code. Then an annual banquet being held in the honor of participating businesses. Because we're so excited about the businesses that are becoming squared up daily, we wanted to, at the end of a year, have a banquet once a year, not the end of a year, but once a year have an annual banquet in the name of the businesses where we invite the community out and we bring the business owners in. And the faith-based organization will choose a couple of the business owners based on, I guess, how well you participated during the year. We'll come up with some criteria. Invite you in and give you 2 or 3 minutes on the mic, and just so the people in the community can finally see a face to those who are helping supporting the communities. Now, during that annual banquet, you'll receive a wall plaque with a date stamp for that year, and then every year you'll just receive another date to put on that wall plaque. Hang it at your store behind the cash register so everybody can see how long you've been a part of the Squared Up program and how long you've been squared up. And then faith-based quarterly pulpit shout out, which really is now every month. Once a month, we want the pastor to stand up in the pulpit and give an account. We fed this many people. We clothed this many people. We helped this many people in the community. And we want to tell you how great of a job the church is doing. But also, if it wasn't for the support of our local business owners, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So please visit our sponsor page and support these business owners instead of going to some of these others. So support the local businesses. Stop by there on the way to church to pick up the donuts and the coffee and the candy. Stop by on the way home to pick up a newspaper. Something. Just support these local communities, these local churches, these local business owners. Now, we also have reward bonuses for continued participation. And I'll tell you that at the very end. We're going to reward businesses who get in early. Now, Small Business Month of Saturdays, you've heard it. The Small Business Month of Saturdays, what happens there is, this started about 3-4 years ago where they had Black Friday. Right after Thanksgiving, they had Black Friday where you go out and Walmart had 2 TVs for sale and 1,000 people would run and jump over everybody trying to get one. And all these companies had Black Friday. You've heard of that. And then there was Cyber Monday, where Monday was the day you get online and order from the online stores and businesses. Now, a group of small business owners, which is spread all across the country now, that Saturday between Black Friday and Cyber Monday, now they're saying get out into the community and support small business owners. Walk around and go in these small shops in the community to show your appreciation, because they know you just spent a lot of money at the big box store. So now walk into Small Business Saturday. Now, we're having Small Business Month of Saturdays, which means during the month of November, each week, we're going to have faith-based organizations. Instead of spending $150 a month they still do it, in the directory, we're going to require them to spend $150 once a week during the month of November. That means if there's 400 local churches in the community, 150 generally means $60,000 a month being spent in that directory. Now with the month of Saturdays, 4 Saturdays, what that means is $240,000, $250,000 being spent in that directory that month. So this is big. This is big. Well, you get all of this for only what? What does it cost? As we said, can you afford to get squared up? We said you can't afford not to become squared up. All these things we talked about, and many of your business owners who have some of these things now, convert all that over to the SquareMileWay for the low price of $19.99 for setup fee and $350 monthly membership fee. We can break this down. We have another webinar. We broke it down piece by piece by piece. If you bought it, each one of these separately, it cost over almost $8,000 to get set up and over $850 a month to run. Look at this, $1,999. You can call this an investment for the setup and $350 membership fee. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? We know for a fact that these benefits cost over $15,000 a year to keep up. Over $15,000 a year it costs for these benefits. Over $15,000. But wait, there's even more. We have a very nice special to offer you. This is an incredible offer. It's just so incredible. I tell you, the owner of this company really did a good job putting this together. Don't know how they did it, but this is what happens. For the next 50 businesses, or to the end of September 2015, for the next 50 businesses only, and I really mean that, only, that signs up for the program, $19.99 up front and $350 a month. For the next 50 businesses only that signs up and remains active for 12 straight months. You get in for $19.99, $1,999, and you pay $350 per month. For the next 12 months, your membership will be converted to a lifetime free member, which means you will no longer have to pay a monthly membership fee ever after your 12th month. Can you, what vendor do you use now that you've been using over a year that says, okay, now you don't pay us no more, but we're going to keep on delivering services to you? Nothing. Not your mortgage or your lease payments, not your supplies, not your service people, not your, nobody. But the owner of SquareMileWay has said for the next 50 businesses, he has a number in mind. So he just has a time frame in mind. So we'll talk to him. But the ideal is if you just get in for $1,999, you one of the first 50 businesses, and you pay $350 for a year. It's really 11 months because the first month is just the $19.99. Your membership is free for life. All those things I told you about value. How much value does it become in the 13th month when you're no longer paying for it? That means businesses, churches are still shopping from you. Neighbors are still coming by. The banquet is still being done. All this stuff is happening in the 13th, 14th, 15th month, and you're not paying a dime at that time. You simply can't beat that. That's just such an incredible offer. So let me summarize this with very blunt, very just straight. Just let me summarize this. First, no other company is doing what the SquareMileWay is doing because they can't. They can't. In order to do what we do, you have to embark on recruiting faith-based organizations. We have that covered. They want the original SquareMileWay. Nobody can duplicate it because the infrastructure around the squared up system is massive. It took years to pull this off the drawing board and get this out to you. Nobody's going to repeat that. They need to know how it works, and they can't. Some proprietary systems in place. They can't. And then you really need to find a way to get your business into this system today. You really do. Listen, we know times can be tight. We know you may look at $19.99. In fact, that's a reason to do it. If you look at $19.99 and say, wow, I don't know if I can afford that, this is something you need to do. $19.99 and just make it for 12 months. And then it's free forever. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the things you no longer have to pay? Because after a year, because Square Mile takes this on, the advertising, the marketing, the just putting job things in the classified costs money. We know what the newspaper costs. So you need to find a way to get it done today. Find a way to get it done today. Please click on the link below to begin your squared up journey today. And visit our website, www.squaremileway.com, to find a more in-depth explanation of the next curve. Don't miss the curve. 1.0 is old. It's time to make that curve, make that turn to get to 2.0. This concludes the webinar. We thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much.